In just 2 minutes, we are going live. Yes, that's right. Ask a Traffic Cop is a live stream, and this is pre-recorded. It's the intro, but we're going to go live. We're going to be taking your traffic and police questions, and we're looking forward to it because it's kind of our thing. If you have traffic and police questions, get ready to ask them. Start entering them into the chat room right now. We have our wonderful producers who take TikTok questions and put them into the main room. But if you're coming in on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Kick, just putting your question in the chat will work beautifully, and I'll be able to answer you. We can talk about stuff and things. Now, if you're on Twitter, I apologize in advance. It does not work. You can see us, but we can't see you. So go to trafficcop.ca and then jump over to our YouTube channel where you can engage properly, seamlessly. We'll actually be able to pay attention to you. I know, it stinks to be a Twitter person today. And there's other places that we can possibly be seen, but we're focusing on these first. You know what? We do this from Monday to Friday from 10 to 11, and it's all about you. So please take the opportunity. Ask us the questions you've always wanted to know the answers to. It doesn't matter if it's about traffic safety, traffic law, police stuff, employment. We're hiring. You have lots of opportunities. In under 40 seconds, we'll be doing this theme song, intro, and then talking about stuff and things. I'm really excited about it. I'm always excited about it. My name is Sean Shapiro, and if you didn't already know, well, where have you been? Follow us, share the live. It's how we get more people engaged and focused on traffic safety. We want the roads to be safe for you and everybody you know. So what are you waiting for? In the next 15 seconds, you can share this at least 5 times, regardless of the platform. Go for it. If you don't already follow us, please follow us. And I'd be playing an intro song in about 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop. Did that work? I think it worked. I like it when things work. Greetings and salutations and good morning, peeps. That's from the Kayla and Jay Craft Boys, the folks who are part of the magic. How's it going? It is Thursday, also known as Friday Junior. Friday is tomorrow. Are you ready for the end of the week? I'm ready for the end of the week. This is all good stuff. I got a story to tell you right off the bat. I'm really excited about. And then we'll get into stuff and things. There's so much to unpack. Good morning, Hawaii. And we've got Be Kind, who says good morning. We've got, what's going on here? JD popped out, then popped back in, so we're still good. Jade says hi. Oh, interesting. Be Kind to One says, hi, do you have any interest in doing province to province traffic safety? Absolutely, I do. I've actually been talking about, and I've actually got friends from police services across Canada and the United States. We've been talking about joining up to do some stuff, to have them talk about our stuff and vice versa. So yeah, we want to cover the world in traffic safety. Absolutely. But reach out to me if you've got some ideas. And everyone, if you've got ideas to make the show better, if you think there's stuff that we need to do that we're not doing, please let us know. I'm totally interested in bringing what we do to the next level. We're pretty awesome, but there's always a next level. Okay, first things first. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I go live on social media to answer your traffic and police questions. That's kind of a thing. But why do we do it? Well, we do it to help you. So if you've got questions, we've got answers. But if you don't ask them, we'll never know. And then we revert to donut talk. I know, I may have said that in the intro. Now, if you want to ask us questions, and I'm not used to this intro. I filmed the intro like 10 minutes before I hit go. So if I repeat things that I've already said, so be it. There was music in that one. This one's no music. Make sure you ask questions. And you can do that just by making a comment that I can put things on screen. Like, for instance, Hussein, who says, hello, Sean. Hello. And good morrow from Chase, who also managed to be on air by way of calling into the Jerry Agar show yesterday. So good on you. I knew it was you instantly. Well, not to mention the fact that Jerry introduced you as Chase. I'm like, how many could there be? Let's see here. Oh, this is awesome. Michael says, can I get Sean to read? Viewer discretion is advised. Cops is filmed on location with the men and women of law enforcement. Suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's so many things that I want to do. Hey, bro, I was just wondering if I fail my G1 twice, what should I do next time to get it? Study. Okay, before we get into more of your questions, and we will be getting to your questions because that's what we're all about, I want to tell you very quickly about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. They are a group of officers dedicated to changing driver behavior one ticket at a time. Yes, they give tickets. We're accused of being tax collectors, but really what we are motivators. You see, the ticket can motivate people to make the right decision going forward, and that is what it's all about. So, if you don't want a ticket, don't break the law. It's all about you. You decide to break the law, then you have decided to voluntarily give up your right to your money, your demerit points, and potentially your license. Now, being that it is the 20th of July, Vision Zero enforcement officers are focused on Vision Zero in 23 Division and 51 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Rexdale, Jamestown, Martin Grove, St. Jamestown. Oh, Jamestown, St. Jamestown, cool. Cabbagetown, Riverdale, Church and Young neighborhoods. Places where real people live, work, and play, and deserve to be safe, and safe from the people who choose to engage in behavior that's not safe. What kind of behavior is that? Because there's always discussion as to what are we focused on. Well, I'll tell you, we are looking for people who choose to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, or drive impaired. Now, there are lots of different offenses. There's offenses that are fairly minor. You know, you forgot your driver's license, and you can still get a ticket for that. But that's not what these officers are focused on. They're looking for people who choose to engage in behavior that leads to serious injury and death on our roads. Simple as that. A recap of where you can find us right now. We're currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course Twitter. But Twitter is a one-way door. You can see us, but we can't see you. It's so sad. But you know how you can change that? You can go to trafficcop.ca. You can jump onto our other social medias because all of the links are there. All right. I told you I was going to start off with a story, and then I forgot to start off with a story. So, do you have a password on your phone? I hope so, because that's a great way to protect your personal information. But could you ever picture a scenario where not having a password on your phone actually helped you? I have one, and I would have never guessed this. So, Sergeant Campbell was coming in from to work and found on the ground a cell phone, a new one, a Motorola. And brought it in. The battery was dead, but he wanted to find out who it belonged to, so he gave it to me. And I charged it up. USB-C is an amazing thing. No proprietary bananas. This just worked. Charged it up, and lo and behold, I didn't have to figure out how to get emergency information, which is available on many of the devices like my own. If you pick up my phone and it's locked, you can always get my emergency contacts. But it was so much easier than that because the person didn't put a password on their phone. And that allowed me to reach out to like the 3 people on this brand new phone that were in their contact list and say, hey, I don't know who belongs to this phone, but I've got it. And I'm sure they'd like it back. So we managed to contact someone and arrange for the return safely of their Motorola phone. So Winter, if you're watching, you're welcome. I'm glad it all worked out. But we got them their phone, and actually, this is a part 2 to the story. We managed to go on our lunch to deliver the phone, and also managed to go pick up some chicken. Now, I have to tell you about this chicken because it was pretty awesome. I found out about it on TikTok. It's called Knockout Chicken. I don't know if you've ever tried it. They're in Kensington Market. And Kensington Market, I've got history with it. My grandfather used to run a business there. He was a manager for Kensington Packers years and years and years ago. And I spent a lot of time there as a kid. So it was really nice to go back to the neighborhood and see Kensington Market now. In any case, Knockout Chicken, if you haven't tried it, check them out. They're on TikTok. I was really impressed. And I don't do endorsements normally, but it was a good value. It's like, you got to try it. And they put out great TikTok videos talking about the deals they offer. So check them out there. Okay, moving on to traffic and stuff. Let's have a look. We have Brian Gerard coming in on YouTube. Hi, Brian. Long time no talk. Brian rides a motorcycle. Brian and I used to ride all the time, and now he's got a 3-wheeler. I noticed your updates on Facebook. It looks like a serious machine. Okay, let's see what we got here. We have an update on Mrs. Draconis. Oh, join us on the big TV. She's off for 2 or 4 more weeks. Wow. So for those of you watching, you have no idea. Akela Draconis is a friend to the show. Not only is he in the traffic business, but he's a regular participant in our live streams. His wife was involved in a collision and suffered some injuries and is recovering at home. So she's joining. So welcome, Mrs. Draconis. welcome to the show. Yendor has a question. Did I say that right, Yendor? Okay, wait, this is the question that we talked about earlier. Want to know what happens if you fail us twice? So the answer is, I didn't give a really complete answer. Let's revisit this. If I fail my G1 twice, what should I do next time to get it? Not only should you study, but there are online test exams, practice tests. That's what it's called. So use them, practice, get people to quiz you. It's 40 questions. 20 questions are rules of the road. 20 questions are signs. Maybe we should do a segment on that. Okay, 2 more tips. You're already watching the show, but continue watching the show. Watch our archives. We talk about traffic safety all the time. It's kind of our thing, and you could benefit there. But there's a channel you can check out. You can check out a website. You can check out a YouTube or a TikTok channel, and that's Trubicars. That is run by a friend of ours, Scott Marshall, who is the safe driver. He was the head of head instructor for another teaching area, driving instruction. I don't know if we can say the name, but the fact is he is a former judge on Canada's Worst Driver, and he's a fountain of information when it comes to learning how to drive. He has videos that you can get all day long that will help you out. Amazingly, I didn't have this stream of consciousness when I first read your question, but it is here now, and you can go, well, wait till after the live stream. And another reminder, please share our content. We would love to reach as many people with good information as possible, and you can be part of that. Absolutely. Let us see. How do I get ownership of a vehicle that has not been insured yet? Well, ownership or transferring a license plate doesn't require the vehicle to be there, so you can get the ownership transferred without insurance. It's just not legal for road use. You can transfer it. I don't know if you can get a plate for it, but you can transfer it. That is a thing. Now, we have a question from EU. EU is coming in from the TikTok. And the question is this. If everyone's going 120, but I'm going 100 in the 100 zone, is that unsafe? Well, there's many people who try and argue that you must break the law like everybody else who doesn't respect the law in order to be safe. And that is bananas. It's not true. Stay to the right. Let the people who choose to speed unsafely, because speed kills and speeding is unsafe and it's illegal. So let them pass you on the left. Don't be in the left. Don't block their path. That would be silly, because then they do the darndest things passing you on the right, which is also unsafe. And I think that's where the unsafe element or the belief comes from. And there's people who continuously and forever try and sell the story that you have to go with the flow of traffic. No, we're not lemmings. Going with the flow of traffic is for entering the highway. You're supposed to get up to highway speed. Highway speed is never supposed to exceed the speed limit. So we have people who try and adjust the narrative to suit their Speedy Gonzalez ways. Does anyone know who Speedy Gonzalez is? Was he not a cartoon character? I'm pretty sure this is my childhood seeping through. Okay, don't go fast. Fast is for the track. And so much coming down the pipe. I'm very excited to discuss our plans and ideas about how to give people the opportunity to go fast, to test their mettle, to show what they can do behind the wheel of a car. Yeah, we're talking about some in-person racing opportunities, although in smaller vehicles. Let's see here. What are my thoughts on radar detectors? Some provinces allow it, some provinces don't. It's pretty simple. I don't think anyone should. I don't understand why anyone would allow someone to have a device that would allow them to temporarily, momentarily adjust their behavior to be legal and avoid being caught, and then go back to breaking the law. That's what that device is. The device has no good use for it. There's no good. It's all about finding ways to avoid being caught. And we want to catch everybody. Yes, we do. We want you to lose your license. I know it sounds crazy, but the goal of catching you is to change your behavior. And if you refuse to change your behavior, then you don't deserve to drive. Driving is a privilege, not a right. Many people don't agree. Many people just don't get it. So I'm here to help people get it. Oh, yes. And this is how I've received nicknames like the CEO of No. It's okay. I can live with it. What do we have here? Something Hot Wheels from AJ the Awesome. We'll come back to that in a second. I've got a question from Tara Lynn. I'm scrolling through because we've had a bunch of stuff come in, and I've not had a chance to read up. And as more questions roll in, it scrolls up. So good morning to AJ the Awesome. Good morning to Stephen Bell. We have a question from an American friend. I assume that they're an American friend because their question is referring to miles per hour, but we will get to that in just a second. We have Linda, who has a question. Did I mention Linda? No, Liza Lewis. Okay. We will get to Liza's question in a second. Tony Elliott has a question. We'll get to that too. Sometimes, for some reason, we get 4 posts for one question. I don't understand why. That's a technical question that I don't have an answer for. It's not spam. It is, oh no. Apparently, I made Mrs. Draconis laugh, and laughing hurts. So that's a bad thing. Okay. Oh, okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right, here. Ashley, Ankit, Ashley, I'm just flagging all your messages, and then we're going back. We're going back. Okay, we have a question about DUI, and now we're up to date. Let me go into start off with John Craig, who asks a very serious question. How much would a woodchuck How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I actually got tongue-tied for a moment, but that is a very good question to which I don't think anyone has truly been able to answer. Okay. Apparently there's a Hot Wheels Race Wars even on Saturday. What is this? One of the is this a real thing? Hot Wheels Race Wars even on Saturday. One of the Fast and Furious actors is going to be there, plus loads of... Where is this? Send me information. Send me. Use the forum. Send me. I'd like to know about this. We are trying to get out and do more things. We've got an event that once approved. Well, first of all, I believe we're going to be at Fan Expo. If anyone's going on the weekend of Fan Expo, I plan to be there. There's an opportunity to go to an event in 31 Division, and regardless if I go or not, it's a phenomenal event. It is a public safety day that is held in the parking lot across from York University. It's the Tim Hortons parking lot. Because Tim Hortons is the sponsor or host of the event with the 31 Divisional officers. And we went last year. It was amazing. In fact, that is the day that I had the largest live stream I've ever had. And I mean that by way of 40,000 people in our live stream. That was the biggest live stream record for our channel. Pretty cool. I think it was pretty cool. Let's see here. Fast. Okay, we'll have to come back and look at stuff. Tara Lynn Benedict. Okay. Why do officers not run their sirens during running to a call other than when at intersection? Because it's actually safer for us. I know it goes against everything, but there's more than one reason. One, it's safer. So if people are just driving to work, doing their thing, whether it be on the highway or on side streets, if we're going to exceed the speed limit marginally, not Mach 5, but we're going to go a little faster, it makes sense for us to do it without activating our lights and sirens because there's a path for us. We have where to go. If we have to get you out of our way, we'll activate the siren because we need to get you out of our way. Still dealing with a cough. But if you're not in our way, we have no reason to freak you out. People do the darndest things. If we hit our sirens, people are confused. Are we pulling them over? Where do they go? And some people just stop right in the middle of the road. Incredibly, incredibly dangerous. So it's better for us to turn it off. Now, there's an additional reason. Let's say we're going to a call. It could be a hostage situation, a break and enter, something where we don't want to identify or notify the bad persons inside that we're coming in. Sirens, oddly enough, they project sound. And people get a warning. They may run away. We want to catch them. We want to avoid escalating things. So another reason why. But why do we use them at an intersection? Well, the intersection is a point where it could be dangerous. It could be going through a red light where we're actually obligated by law. If we want to go through a red light, we have to come to a complete stop. We must activate our lights and sirens, and only then can we proceed through the intersection when it's safe to do so. So there, Tara Lynn, sorry, I believe we've answered your question. Okay. Is going 5 miles an hour over the limit against the law? Yeah, it is. 1 mile or kilometer over the limit is against the law. Now, whether or not it is something that you get a ticket for is entirely up to the officer who has the ability to use discretion. They may say that 6 kilometers or miles over the limit is where they start pulling people over, and that is entirely their prerogative. There is not a 1 kilometer over, 1 mile over, we're going to pull everybody over situation that I'm aware of anywhere. And very often, officers determine that there are so many violators at higher speeds that they're going to wait and do the best work possible, which is get the person who's the most risk. Now, I have an issue. Personally, I don't like the idea of waiting until people do absolutely reckless driving speeds before we pull people over. I think we should pull people over a lot lower, at lower speeds. So 15 over in a 60s, 25% over, I'm happy to pull people over for that. And I would charge them for that. At 10 over, maybe I would give a warning, maybe not. Depends on the situation. But I believe that we need to pull people over at much lower speeds. Otherwise, what we do is we train people to say that they can go faster as long as they don't go really fast. And that's not safe. That goes against everything that we should be trying to address. Let's see here. Oh, the Grinch says, good morning. Haven't heard from you in a while, the Grinch. And it is good to see you. The Grinch comes through on Twitch and sometimes comes through on Kick, and sometimes the Grinch is everywhere. Just saying. We're going through. Okay, scrolling through. Chase has an interesting statement, and I hear this from many, many people. I feel there would be a decrease of street racing and ridiculous speeds if there was a close by 24-hour track. I don't know. I don't buy that. You know what? The deal is that that everyone's responsible for what they do, and to pin it on the location of a track is kind of lame. Because no, if you want to go fast, there's lots of ways, and you have to be committed to it. You want to be a race car driver. You want to be someone who has got a cool car that goes fast. Drive the hour and go to a track. It's not that a big a deal. Invest in it. Train, learn, but don't just use excuses and then make the track. I mean, you're not trying to justify it. You're saying that you think you might solve it. But I think if someone's really serious about what they're doing, it's not just breaking the law because they want to show off. I think a lot of it's showing off. You don't have an audience necessarily on a track. But it is an interesting discussion, and I will let it simmer. I will let it simmer in my psyche. Question is, can you get a G1 with one eye, and do you need medical paperwork? I don't think that you require medical paperwork. I think that if you have one eye and you state that you have one eye, that they probably would accept that you have one eye. You do, however, you have to be able to pass the test with one eye. And I've called to check in on that. There's nothing that says you cannot drive if you don't have binocular vision. So go in and see what happens. If they do send you back, which I'd be shocked if they did, but then you get a note. If you want to save yourself a drive for nothing, call ahead and confirm, but I don't think you need a note. Tony Elliott 5. What happens if you get caught going over 32 kilometers and over, try that again, rewind. What happens if you get caught going over 32 kilometers an hour on an e-bike? So let's make it clear. The requirements for a motor vehicle that is powered by electric motor and or electricity, well, the maximum, they are motor vehicles until they are limited or incapable of going beyond 32 kilometers an hour. They have to have a motor no more powerful than 500 watts, and they can be no heavier than 120 kilos. There's a bunch of things. But the speed specifically, this is flat level. It's based on flat surface, independent, running on power. So what happens if they do 33 kilometers an hour? Well, the magical spell cast in law by way of the Highway Traffic Act that deems it to be a bicycle goes up in smoke. It is no longer a bicycle. It is back to being a motor vehicle, which means you're eligible for requiring a license, a motorcycle license in particular, a license plate that must be paid for and valid. You still have to pay for a plate even if you don't have to renew it. And then you have to have insurance on the vehicle. Otherwise, you're eligible for a ticket of $5,000 to $25,000 because it's a no set fine, go to court ticket, and it's $5,000 to $25,000 upon conviction, along with up to 6 months. Well, it's optionally. They can choose to send you to jail for up to 6 months. They can either do that in lieu of money, in conjunction with money. The options are endless. We also have up to 3 years to lay that charge. So if you get one ticket and you think that you got away with something, up to 3 years later, we can still come at you and lay that charge. What else? Unsafe motor vehicle, Yeah, there's a ton of things because as a motor vehicle, you have different standards for your brakes and equipment that must be met. You also need to have a helmet on, but regardless, you have to have a helmet on when you're riding an e-bike too. Okay, coffee update. Yep, the update is good. Okay, hope that answers your question. If you have more that you'd like to know about in the realm of electric vehicles like e-bikes and e-kick scooters, I got a ton of stuff we can talk about. Absolutely. Is it illegal to use phone if someone is stopped at roadside with four-way flashers on? So it's an interesting conversation, and let's get to it. So I see a lot of people who just pull over because I got to take a call and I don't want to break the law, so I pull over. Pulling over on the highway isn't legally parking. Now, if your vehicle is disabled, it breaks down. That's different. You have a justified reason you can explain as to why you did what you did. But if you're pulling over because you just want to take a call and kick back and chat for a while without having to focus on driving, that's not legal. In fact, you can be charged for parking on a highway. You're not allowed to be there. It's for emergency purposes. So that would be illegal, and you could be charged for using your phone there. Is it likely that you would be charged? Probably not. To be honest, I don't think people would be pulling you over to say that you are, but you could get a parking ticket. You could be charged for parking on a King's Highway. There's a ton of options, and truly, the only time that you can use your cell phone is when you're legally parked, unless, of course, you're calling for an emergency. You're calling for 911 for police, fire, and ambulance, or if your vehicle is disabled for a tow. Okay, Ashley Q. Or Ashley with a question is probably more accurate. Car caught going through a red light with camera and police. Do you end up with 2 tickets? You could. You could. I have pulled someone over in the past for that. And I could choose, because there's no guarantee that the camera caught them. The guarantee is that I caught them. And there's no demerit points when the camera catches them, but there are demerit points when I catch them. So I would prefer to write the ticket and let the courts figure out that they got double tapped, and to deal with that other one if it ever came through by saying that I already got charged for it. And I think that there would be a defense for, or at least an opportunity for the courts to dismiss the camera ticket, but they could choose to proceed through both. I think that would be unreasonable, but I don't think that the solution is not writing the ticket as a police officer. Now, here's one thing that might be really logical here, and it may make a lot of sense. I would choose not to do enforcement in an area already supported by a red light camera. Just me. Now, if I happened to be driving by and I saw it, I would certainly take advantage of the opportunity to write that ticket. Not because I need another ticket, but because I want to make sure that someone who's choosing to do it isn't drunk, isn't impaired by drugs or alcohol, isn't someone who shouldn't be driving. Like, I get an opportunity to investigate, so I would take that opportunity. But I probably wouldn't set up there knowing that there's a camera there, because the goal of these automated enforcement cameras is really to augment and allow us to do other things while we're not sitting at that particular intersection. And that essentially means I can be the next intersection over, keeping that area safe. Yes, I like it. I like automated enforcement. I think it should be everywhere. Can you get a DUI in a canoe, electric wheelchair? Big debate at work. Oh, I'm glad that we can have this involvement as a debate. I get involved in the debate. I like debates. I like traffic geeky stuff. So this is sort of how I ended up here. Okay, a DUI in a canoe. Well, yes, because under the, I think we said it was the Shipping Act. Is that what it was? Chase said it yesterday. But regardless, it's been upheld in court that it is classified as a vessel, even though it is not electric. Sorry, not. It's still, even though it's human powered. If it has an engine, it's easy. But because the canoe is without an engine, how does it get established to be a vessel? It's a vessel in the Shipping Act or something like that. How it gets there, irrelevant. I know that it's supported. I'm not going to be the guy laying that charge because I don't do canoes or boats, really. I like boats. I'm not a boat cop. Okay, moving on to electric wheelchair. An electric wheelchair, a truly electric wheelchair, is not considered a motor vehicle. It is not. It is the one exemption under the Criminal Code of Canada. You're a pedestrian in a wheelchair. But anything else, if you have a personal mobility scooter, that is something that's considered a motor vehicle for the purposes of charges. An electric skateboard, absolutely anything other than an electric wheelchair, because that is the person's, that's their only ability to move and to put them in a position where they would be breaking the law just by anyway. That's, you cannot be DUI in an electric wheelchair. Debate solved. Let me know which end you ended up on. WE Emergency. Hey, I seen you last weekend down in Toronto. It's Austin. It was great meeting you. Hey, Austin. Thanks for shouting out. I assume we met at the Indy, which was amazing. I really appreciate that. We met so many amazing people there. Thanks for saying hey. I'm not sure, and forgive me, I met a lot of people over the weekend, so let me know how I can identify who you are so I remember and put a face to the name. Okay. How to avoid ticket on right turns? Some turns are confusing with red light on. None should be confusing. How do you avoid a ticket? Well, if you're coming to a red light, you stop for it. And then you only proceed if there's no sign that is prohibiting the turn on red and if it's safe to do so. But the most important part is come to a complete stop. Complete stop before the white stop bar or sidewalk or crosswalk, or stop at the appropriate place and wait. Make sure it's safe. I think that pretty much sums up how to avoid bad stuff and things. Mike Mortley wants to know, what's your take on unmarked police cars? Do you think it helps or hinders police public relations? Unmarked police cars are an incredible tool. Whether people like being caught or not, they allow police to go and observe people behaving badly, because when the police are openly visible, people tend to act better temporarily. It's sort of the same situation as a radar detector. If people only behave when the police are around, well, we reduce the number of people who would otherwise be making other people or putting other people at risk. So I think that they're the best thing since sliced bread. If you've ever done it, well, you've probably never done enforcement, but if you've done enforcement, when I do enforcement, I would park my motorcycle around the corner. I would stand at a street corner, and I would be hiding with my yellow vest on, and I would catch people on their cell phones. If I could park my unmarked police car and stay in it anywhere, drive anywhere, and people would just do things. Now, granted, a distracted driver is distracted and probably won't make a difference whether or not the vehicle is marked or unmarked. But I honestly believe that they are the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to enforcement. Again, because people, if they know we're there, tend to do the right thing temporarily, and that doesn't allow us to catch the people who are still breaking the law. And we need to catch everybody. Or, crazy concept, nobody should break the law. If we didn't have a need, we wouldn't have the vehicle to help us in enforcing said laws. Okay. How can I legally put tint on my windshield? You cannot legally put tint on your windshield. You don't need tint on your windshield. But I have a great solution. They invented it a while ago. They're called sunglasses. It's like putting tint on your eyes. Then whatever you look at is going to be tinted. And not illegal. I should patent that. Can I get a ticket for forgetting my signal light? Like at home? Well, whatever do you mean? Like forgetting to signal? Yeah. If you fail to signal, you can be charged because it's kind of like required by law. Signaling. You must communicate your intention to change your vehicle direction, changing lanes, turning, all those things. Oddly enough, you have to communicate when you're braking. All these things are required. You can do it with your hand. You can do hand signals if you want to. But yeah, it's a thing. Hot Wheel is July 22nd at Cayuga. I'm making a note. Hot Wheel, July 22nd. Awesome. I will see what can be done. Now, my season says, "Hey, how you doing?" They're coming in from Kick. Hello. We have the good sergeant who is here to join us for a little bit. Awesome.
You keep calling me the good sergeant.
I don't know. I just caught the username of somebody here. What is the law on exhaust leaks? For anyone who can see the chat, there's a reason why I'm not. You throw it anywhere. Why I'm not putting their username on screen. It's rude. Even if that's it could be their given name. That's their username, so I'm not putting it on screen.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a family-friendly show here. If you see everyone going above the speed limit as they are flowing with traffic, who gets pulled over? The lucky ones?
The unlucky ones.
I don't know, because there's been a discussion that it was a traffic accident commission in Australia. We say collision here, not accident, but because there's a whole concept of accidents are just because of randomness and no one's at fault. Well, they're collisions because someone did something wrong. But the point of my story is that they talk about. What do they talk about? Oh, the lucky ones get caught because it changes their behavior. I saw a squirrel. Yeah.
So it could be the lucky ones that do get caught.
If it changes their
If
behavior.
it slows them down a little bit.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, everybody could get pulled over. We have different types of radar. Our laser radar, we can pinpoint the speed of exactly every vehicle in that group and choose which one to pull over. You're all committing an offense. So do we pick red cars that day? Do we pick whatever? Maybe we watch you for a little while and you're the one that's moving at the speed of traffic, but you've been weaving in and out to try and get up there. Well, you know what? If I had a choice of people, you're more wrong than the rest of them are. And I would stop you and try and change your behavior and your driving behavior to try and save your life.
Because they're the most serious offender.
Yep.
We have a question of, can you get a DUI on a bicycle? We've had this discussion, and and the discussion at the moment, it appears that the answer is no, because we were using the example of the canoe to justify why the bicycle could be a vehicle, a motor vehicle, or a conveyance under the law.
Yeah. So let me take you back a little bit. Our laws changed several years ago, and it isn't motor vehicle anymore. It's conveyance.
Sorry, yes.
And the definition of a conveyance is something that obviously moves you. There has been some case law. So there was a person that was convicted of impaired operation of a conveyance causing death. And it's a tragic story of a gentleman who took a small child out in a canoe. Very early in the spring with terrible conditions out. He was completely impaired, lost control of his canoe. He and this little child gets into trouble and the child dies. And he was convicted of impaired operation of a conveyance causing death. Now that conveyance is, yes, it's a boat, but it's not a motorboat. It's only driven by muscular power, which kind of is what a bicycle is.
But apparently they chose to go through it that way, or they were supported because it is considered a
vessel?
A vessel under the Shipping Act. And that's how they dealt with that one, apparently.
Right.
So we were thinking that a bike would be a great one based on that case law, but it may or may not support. But I can tell you this, e-bikes, absolutely.
Yes, whether you have a license, insurance, and your e-bike is exempted, it's still a motor vehicle. It's still an electric motorcycle that has an exemption, but not for impaired driving, not for any part of alcohol-related driving.
The criminal code is separate than the Highway Traffic Act. One is federal, one is provincial. Under the criminal code, it says anything other than muscular power, and that's everything. So that's except a wheelchair.
That's correct.
The deal is, and someone won a bet earlier. They were discussing the wheelchair versus, is it a motor vehicle for the purposes of it? And for a wheelchair is the one thing that's exempt, and I get why. But the deal is with e-bikes, electric unicycles, electric golf carts, or gas powered for that matter, any golf cart. All of these vehicles are eligible for impaired driving charges, or at least the drivers of them are.
Yeah, and you know what? Here in Ontario, golf carts are often treated as differently, or thought to be treated as differently, because it's kind of a given thing that people are golfing and there is alcohol served, but that doesn't mean that you can be impaired or over 80 and operate them even on a golf course, which is private property.
I like it. I don't understand why anyone, regardless of where, thinks that it's okay to do that. It's just so dangerous, and people get hurt on golf carts all the time. Let's see here. We got a bunch of holy moly.
And Shout out to Akela Draconis. Thanks very much.
And Mrs. Draconis.
And was nice to meet you in person at the Honda Indy last
He
weekend.
took some very nice photos of us. I sent you one. This is the one he took.
Yes.
Yes. There's more. Oh, well, there's more because I'm in a photo and he's taking some great racing. He's a good photographer.
Yeah, nice guy.
Well, you know, that too. And then you know, he gave me some spam. So, Chase says, is using a hoverboard in your house while inebriated, actually, he's making a statement. It would be illegal. It absolutely.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Is that,
And there's another person that we met on the weekend
Yes.
at the Indy.
absolutely, and not for the first time. But we weren't there last year, but we met Chase last year too. Okay, a bunch of questions that are in queue. We have here. We already covered this one. We already covered, hey, traffic light camera, catch me if I go through on the yellow. So a red light camera actually does not catch people for going through on yellow. It will take a photo of you as you if you've crossed the line after it's turned yellow. So it'll actually give you like a 3 millisecond counter after. and that's how it's specifically for red light. Otherwise, it would be called the yellow red light camera.
But let's explain. The fine for going through a red light and a yellow light are exactly the same. The demerit points for going through a red light or a yellow light in Ontario are exactly the same. If you are facing a amber or yellow traffic signal, you are obligated to stop it.
Yes. The deal is that a yellow or amber, same difference, means stop unless it's unsafe to do so. So how do we qualify that? If you've taken any driver training, you've probably heard them refer to the point of no return. And that is that point where it would be unsafe for you to, at this point, it would be impossible for you to stop safely behind the white line, regardless of the input that you put on the brakes. Or it would be so unsafe because someone behind you would drive you. That's a simple one. So if you're driving at the speed limit, and speed limit matters, oddly enough, and it turns yellow and you're traveling at the speed limit, likely you'd be able to stop safely your vehicle in the appropriate amount of time because speed and distance, well, they're kind of connected. So if you're going too fast, you would not be able to. It causes a lot of issues, and collisions occur when we talk about speeding. And it's one of the reasons why we enforce speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a funny fact, if you come up to the amber light and all of a sudden I see you go, vroom, and they speed up to try and make it through because you didn't want to hit the bigger pedal to the left of that one, yeah, you're definitely having a conversation with me, and you're probably getting a ticket from me.
It's a great little tidbit for my evidence. As I heard the engine rev, you know.
Yep, as opposed to the attempt at braking.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, listen, you make an attempt, road conditions are such that you start to lose track. Like, there's things that make sense, and we're reasonable. We understand. But when someone hammers down and yellow means go faster, that is not happening, at least not with us. Okay. So, yes, this was the debate. They won the wheelchair, and we are awesome. Thank you very much. We like confirmation of our awesomeness on occasion.
You're awesome.
What is a street legal e-bike company? Here's the problem with this. There's a lot of truly motorcycles that are electric that are being imported into the country that are being modified with a simple wire, a limiter, a loop somewhere in the system to restrict its speed so it doesn't go above 32 kilometers an hour. Those bikes, when they have motors that are more than 500 watts but are limited, are still motor vehicles. They don't get the benefit of this, and they're being sold, and the people selling them are wrong. They're selling bikes that are motorcycles as though they are e-bikes. And if you buy them, you are responsible for using them. You can go sue them later for lying to you. But the truth is that those are motor vehicles. So if you buy a bike that was truly designed to go no faster, to not be capable of going faster than 32 kilometers an hour, or if you buy a bike that has a motor that is 500 watts and also meets the requirement for maximum speed on a flat surface, those are legal regardless of the manufacturer title. I will tell you this, if you want to stay out of problems, buy a pedelec. It has no throttle. It is simply something that augments your pedaling. So you do the work and it helps you. Those are treated as bicycles pretty much everywhere. You can even go on bike paths. Those are the true e-bikes. The ones that are throttle, they look like motorcycles, they look like scooters. Those are the ones that are restricted from using bike tracks, cycle tracks, and are truly going to get you into more trouble than the others.
Yeah, manufacturers are pushing the envelope, and their whole goal is to sell it to you. So I've heard that maybe salespersons have maybe told a lie, an untruth. I've heard that happening before. So
I have
do your
done,
due diligence.
I've done some undercover phone work, and I've called up different places as a consumer looking for information, and it took about 3 sentences before the guy on the phone said, "And I'll show you how to pull the wire so you can go faster." If it's just part of the sales pitch, obviously they're aware of the fact that it goes faster. And some of these bikes, though, especially the ones that look like motorcycles, they have motors that are far, far more powerful than 500 watts, even though they're temporarily limited. They are far faster. They do 90 kilometers an hour. We pulled them over on the highway. So we're not asleep. We're paying attention, and expect that more and more people are going to be caught and prosecuted for riding these motor vehicles without license, ownership, and insurance. And it's going to hurt a lot of people.
Now, don't get us wrong. I think they're pretty cool.
Cool is not a problem. Just illegal.
There's a couple of things that I want to try that I have not. The single wheeled hoverboard I would like to try, and e-bikes or e-motorcycles
Yeah.
I would like to try, but I have to do it in the circumstance and the setting that allows it.
Illegal place. My brother, he lives in Los Angeles. There, the one wheel is legal, as far as I know. He has one wheel skateboard, but with a big go-kart tire in the center. Different than the electric unicycle that does 70 kilometers an hour,
Right.
which is absolutely in no way, shape, or form legal ever, regardless of if it's limited to 32 kilometers an hour. That is just a prohibited, unsafe motor vehicle, period.
But you can operate on private property,
Private property alone.
your
Yeah.
private property, or permission.
Yes. Yeah, there's we can do a whole day on just e-bikes and the level or number of vehicles that are not permitted. But electric skateboards not permitted. Do you know, like, skateboards aren't even allowed on the road? They're not permitted there.
They're not permitted either.
No, skateboards alone. Even a human-powered skateboard is
I did
technically.
not know that.
It's a toy, and there you
It's a
can
conveyance.
Yes, but it's sort of classified as a toy, and it needs to be used on the sidewalk. Oddly enough, if you ride a skateboard on a sidewalk in an unsafe manner, there are tickets for those. So there are bylaw charges related to skateboards, but they're not road legal. People use them on the road all the time. Okay, and actually, I kind of like the idea of them being used on the road rather than the sidewalk, because they put pedestrians in great harm, and people always say, well, they don't hurt people. Yeah, people get hurt all the time.
Till you crash.
When a cyclist or a pedestrian, when a cyclist, a skateboarder, a rollerblader, anyone traveling much faster, it's that speed differential. When they crash into a pedestrian, bad things happen. Stephen Bell says, I don't know why people are against the cops because they're just doing their job. I always like the cops. Well, thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate the support. You know what? A lot of people just don't like being told no, and I am the CEO of no, so I'm often telling people no, and I'm used to it. But the deal is that some people had bad experiences, and I can't speak to all the experiences. And maybe there was somebody who was not very nice to them. So everyone has their own experiences, their own history, and there are far more good than there are bad. In fact, I would say the bad is such a minute representation, but that's the stories that everyone hears and talks about.
Yeah, and you know what? If there are the bad, I don't want to be working with them.
Well, that's right.
So-
And if there are truly bad cops, good cops are the first ones to report bad cops. If your phone is stationary in a stand in your vehicle, can you, for example, set up the GPS?
No.
Not if your vehicle is doing anything other than being parked legally, like in a parked setting where you could get out and leave the car behind, legally parked. Because then it's before you drive. So set it and forget it. You put your destination before you put the vehicle in motion and take it into the roadway. Now, if you're on private property, you could touch it. It wouldn't be illegal. But yeah, the deal is that if you're driving, and that even includes when you're stopped at a red light, you cannot touch your phone, other than to answer or hang up a call. That's the only two exemptions. If it's mounted, you can answer or hang up the call. Or if you're calling 911 for police, fire, and ambulance, you can touch your phone. Okay. We already discussed the DUI on a bicycle. Okay. For how long 30-day suspension for demerit points and speeding tickets stay on your record? So if you're talking about demerit points, regardless of how many you have, they stay on your current record for 2 years from the date of the offense. Some people play some games to avoid having them ever see their license. But demerit points stay on for 2 years. Your record is 3 years from the conviction date. So if you have 2 years waiting for trial and you go to court and the conviction's there, or you pay it the day that it's registered, it's 3 years. Suspensions are there, I think, forever.
Actually, your record is there forever. What the usable portion of it is what you just said.
Yes.
We'll always be able to see your record.
We see everything from before you were licensed. If you had a ticket when you were 12, we would see it. However, if an insurance company was doing some background on you to find out if you were a good candidate for insurance with their company, they would only be able to see the current period, which is limited to what we talked about. Yes, it's important to say that. Actually, I did a TikTok about the fact that we can see everything, and it really bothered people. Some people are like, my God, it's too much information. I don't want anyone to know.
No, it's the Ministry of Transportation's information, and they share it with us.
Yes. Remember, your license is only given to you as a privilege because you've earned it, and you can also earn your way out of having it. But it's all you and what you do. Do police really have ticket quotas each month? We can't speak for every agency throughout the world. We don't. I don't think anybody in Ontario does. But I don't know. We certainly don't. I've never heard of anyone having a quota.
But, and I can talk to this as a supervisor.
He has the sergeant stripes, supervisor.
I expect police officers that are getting pretty good wage to be out there and working. We work in a traffic division. Traffic safety is our number one thing. If you're not actively engaged in doing an investigation, police work, I want you to be out there enforcing the laws. I want you to be writing tickets. I want you to change drivers' behavior. And I want you to be able to prove to me that you're earning your pay while you're out there. That's our number one goal, is to stop bad things from happening. And I would take an officer to task if he's not writing tickets.
And it's not like it's hard to write tickets. If I go stand on the street corner for 10 minutes, I'm sure I could find 10 offenses. Or
more.
If you are not writing tickets, what are you doing? You have to justify your time in some way. So if I go out and I work for 10 hours and I come back and I'm like, time to go home, and I have nothing to show for it. I didn't investigate a collision.
That's where I look at it.
Well, it's reasonable, right? Like, the taxpayers are paying us. We have to be accountable for what we do. And it's not about did we hammer 10 people for expired license plates. It's about, it could be one investigation that takes the entire day, but it was a guy that you pulled over for speeding. It turns out they had a gun. There was warrants. It doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're doing the right thing.
Right. And the right thing is making things safer for everybody.
Yeah.
Changing driver behavior one signature at a time.
You don't have to sign them anymore. It's just beep. What is the speed for neighborhood roads without signs? Is it 50 or 40? Jurisdictions will...
Depends.
Yes, because jurisdictions, when you enter a city, as you enter from, Toronto, from one of the neighboring, it'll actually have a sign that says, "Welcome to Toronto, population of," and it will say what the speed limits are when there's unposted.
Yeah.
And it used to be 50 and 80, right? 50 was for unsigned roads, and 80 was for unsigned highways, like the bigger, faster roads. But I believe that it's 40 now.
I don't know if it is or not. I haven't looked into that. I still believe it's 50 and 80. All of our 40 zones are signed correctly. Anything different than 80 on the highway is signed differently, whether it's a 90, 100, or 110. So unsigned areas, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a sign for "Welcome to Toronto" sign. Let's see if I can googly do it.
I bet you there's somebody doing that right now.
Oh, I'm sure everyone is. Oh, I know that one person is. Chase is on it. I don't even see the sign of speed, because I've got pictures of the sign, but I don't have pictures of the subsequent supporting signs. All right, but this we will talk about this again another day. How was Sergeant Campbell's motorcycle pit from Chase? Not barbecue.
Oh,
pits.
the barbecue pit.
Yes.
We were talking about that yesterday.
Yes.
You know what? It was awesome. It really was. So I went for a ride yesterday. We went to a little place in a little small town called Keene. And it was Muddy's Barbecue Pit. which for me is heaven. It was pretty good. I had the carnivore sampler, and it was really, really good. So, thumbs up.
And that was after having knockout chicken. So I was talking about knockout chicken.
Well, knockout
earlier.
chicken was something else.
Yeah, I said I don't normally endorse, but the fact is we had an opportunity to go to Kensington Market. We had an opportunity to go to the TikTok famous restaurant,
Wow.
and it was actually very good.
You know what? I would have to agree. The quality and quantity we received for the price we paid. Wow.
It was $15. $15. Okay, so for $15, the special was, and I think the special is still going on today, and they have videos constantly. So it was a chicken sandwich. It
A
was
full-on chicken sandwich.
Yeah, it was a normal size piece of chicken breast on
Coleslaw and all the
pickles.
trimmings.
It was
and-
good,
Yep.
and the bun was really good.
Yeah.
And then there was popcorn chicken, a bag of it, and then it was 4 chicken wings, 2 pieces of chicken, like
Yep.
dark meat, and then it was French fries
Yeah.
and,
a
hot
water,
sauce and a water. $15. Okay, $17.50 with tax.
which actually doesn't compute. I thought about that afterwards.
Oh,
They didn't do their math right for the taxes, but it was still better.
geez, yeah. What was it?
$17.50 total.
What should it have been? Why is my math failing me now? But I'm pretty sure it was 17. The calculator was still. It was $70 for 4 people. So it should have been $16.95. You're very right.
Yeah. That's math.
Yeah,
I took off my shoes and
counted with. Oh, that's. I don't know how I feel about
yeah,
this
well,
now.
I'm okay.
It was
I'm
still a
still
great
okay
deal,
with it.
even with incorrect math. Okay, maybe there was a disposal fee for something.
Maybe they saw us coming and went,
We can get 50 cents out of that.
these guys have eaten a lot before, so
They won't even notice.
yeah.
Well, I don't begrudge them the extra 50 cents, 55 cents ish. Okay, can your phone be mounted for GPS? Can you answer a FaceTime call or just only calls? Voice
Heck.
calls.
No.
So okay, let's have a look at what the rules are. Basically, your telephone, it cannot be used except for answering or hanging up on calls. And that's in a phone mode where the only display that comes up is ring, ring, person calling. A FaceTime call would now make the screen part of the experience. You'd have to be looking at the screen, or you'd have the option. And having a screen visible to driver for anything other than the telephone number and the clock and GPS mode is illegal. So even if someone in your passenger seat said, "Hey, look at Bob on the FaceTime," you are now violating the HTA as having a screen visible to driver.
Two separate offenses.
Yes.
Screen visible to driver and use handheld communication device. Both of them.
The only exception to having a screen visible to driver is if it's in GPS mode. However, if it's in GPS mode, it must be mounted and you cannot interact with the screen. You can't add locations on Waze of some broken down car. You can't switch to a different destination. You can't do nothing like that.
Android Auto or CarPlay
Yes.
allows it to be displayed on your dash.
And
There is an exception for those.
well, those are because you're not interacting with the phone. You're interacting with the inset car, and it's different. It's still careless driving if it causes your driving to suffer, but it's not the same thing. Another thing you could think about, if you are really in a bind and you're driving and you need to change your destination, if you're not using Waze, but you're using the built-in GPS, like if you tell CarPlay, or you should say, you ask Siri to, how do I get to so-and-so? It can, with voice prompts, create a directional thing through the Maps software. So that would be a solution that you could actually set a destination without touching your phone legally. Otherwise, don't touch it. Voice calls only.
That is what I do on my motorcycle. I have my phone mounted. I can see my GPS, but I don't touch it. And I do everything through I have a speaker and microphone in my helmet,
Voice prompts.
and I voice prompt it.
Now, there's something that popped into my head, and as quickly as it popped in, it's gone. Oh, if you take a FaceTime call, there is something called FaceTime or FaceTime audio. So you could receive a FaceTime audio only call, but not video activated. And if it's plugged into CarPlay, it should not activate camera or screen. So look at people who are in meetings. Now, you could argue that being in a meeting or engaged in a conference call or a telephone call of any kind is a distraction, because it is a distraction, but it's not a legal distraction. It doesn't qualify. But there are modes in WebEx. There are modes in, what's that other one? Teams. There's in Zoom. To be in the car, you can scroll over and there's no video. It excludes you from the video. You don't see them. They don't see you. You don't see the presentation. It's just voice. There is a button that says mute, and that's a reasonable button to press. So there are options. There are legal, safe options.
I got to tell you, if you're using your video as you're driving your car and you crash, you have just created a whole bunch of witnesses
Oh, yeah.
that would have to be
Subpoena.
obligated to, in a court, to tell the truth about your actions. So I'm just saying that you don't need that risk.
Here's a question that I don't have an answer for. Maybe you do. Navpreet Singh wants to know, do AZ drivers need logbooks in the city?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Electronic now or paper. If you're operating a vehicle that requires it, doesn't matter where you're operating it.
Cool. Yeah, I am not an AZ knower of things.
So an AZ driver is a Class A driver with a Z endorsement, which means
Air brakes.
they're able to operate the biggest, most heaviest vehicles carrying the most heaviest loads on trailers. And the Z endorsement is in Ontario. You have passed the air brake course and are able to operate vehicles with air brakes.
Very cool. Here's a question about pets. I like pets. Actually, I need to talk more about pets and hot cars. It's really a problem. But Akash wants to know, is it legal to drive with the pet at the front seat? If not, then why don't people get tickets for it? Front seat isn't illegal. On your lap, interfering with the driver is illegal. So careless driving or drive while crowded, either would be appropriate charges. One would just for being there, the other one for actually having it impacting your driving. But the deal is that it's not safe. It's not fair to the animal. Animals should be crated or tethered in the back seat. Safest place for them. Airbags kill animals. And
Absolutely.
So do bodies when they get crushed between the steering wheel and the animal.
If you love your vehicle or if you love your animal, then do the proper thing. Don't put them on your lap. It's an animal. If something distracts them, if there's a fly in your car, what if a bee comes in and stings them and they just freak out? All of a sudden you're out of control because you have this big animal on your lap or little animal on your lap, and that is a distraction. Totally careless. Should something happen, should you crash, should you hurt somebody, you would be such liable for it.
And then forget about being in the front, but just being in the vehicle untethered. One, you can never predict what an animal's going to do if they get freaked out. That's one. Two, if you're involved in a collision, they become a projectile within the vehicle, could hurt you, could hurt themselves. And even if they're okay, but you're involved in a collision, and then you're unable to get out of the vehicle, you're injured, and the window's broken, they get out, they run onto the highway, they get hit by a car. There's no good. There are things you should be doing to take active precautions for their safety because you love them. They're your best friend, right? Can you drive with earphones? In Ontario, yes, you can. You can cover both ears. Some provinces say you can only cover one. Is it safe? Well, many of the headphones we wear today have something called transparency mode so that you actually hear ambient sound as well. Would we prefer you not to wear them? Well, sure we would. We'd like you to be able to hear those warning signs. I certainly wanted to hear what's coming up behind me, screeching tires, loud noises, sirens. However, you can be deaf and drive. It's not hearing is not a requirement under the law for driving.
If you're going to drive with them in, get rid of the noise canceling mode.
Right.
Because then it actively gets rid of the outside ambient noise and you have no idea what's going on behind you. Make yourself the best driver you can. Use all of your senses to make sure you are the safest out there.
People they take for granted or don't want to acknowledge that driving is dangerous. It's inherently dangerous. You're getting into a car, you're traveling at speed, you're engaging with all sorts of things in and around you. It's dangerous. Do the best you can to be as safe as you can while you're doing that. Okay, it is 11:05. There's a bunch of questions in queue. So I am, if you've got new questions, I apologize. We're not going to take anything new that's after this 11:05, but I'm going to muscle through and try and get through some of the questions that have been waiting patiently. Thank you for waiting.
And then are we going to get some chicken?
Samosas.
Oh, samosa.
Today's samosa day.
Oh, yeah.
So for anyone who is not in this building right now, our social committee has done, like every week, they're trying to do some stuff to help do some fundraising for good cause, and they've taken their time to give their lunch up, to make, to order and help deliver samosas around the building. We did a barbecue last week. It's good stuff. And it makes my Thursdays special. Lil Mabu has a question. Is there a fine for carrying a firearm if it's registered to the person, but it has to be renewed? Carrying a firearm, okay.
There's more than a fine.
There's more than a fine. I'm assuming you may not be in Canada, because in Canada, y'all can't carry firearms, at least not unless you're a police officer, a armed guard, an active working military person. Who else can carry a firearm?
Well, people legally
Transporting.
it for hunting purposes, and you said it was a firearm, and I'm talking more long guns and stuff like that. If you're talking handguns, there's even more that you have to abide by. But you can. It has to be stored safely. It has to be stored inoperable. It has to be locked. It can't be in view. And that's only for certain classes of firearms.
Yeah, if it's going to be restricted, and then non-restricted is a whole different situation.
I'm going to say if you are registered, you're lawfully carrying it, but your license is expired, you're not lawfully carrying it.
There you go. Yeah, in carrying, I read, technically there's something called a carry permit, although it doesn't allow you to carry it on your person. It's for transporting to and from a gun club, if it's a restricted weapon. So it's a more complicated discussion. But if you were talking about carrying like on your person, you're looking at potentially getting arrested.
Oh yeah.
Never mind the gunpoint arrest. Yeah, it's bad. Okay, here's a great question from the Grinch. He says it's a great question, so I'm taking his word for it. So I was in Toronto on Monday. I had a streetcar pull up beside me at an intersection, not quite to their stop, and open the doors. Light turned green. I was half past the door and proceeded to drive away. At this time, the driver honked. So at this time, especially with the length of those vehicles, you are stuck there. You cannot move. Because there's other doors in the vehicle. The vehicle has multiple doors, and you can't approach those doors.
Yeah, you cannot pass any door on a streetcar that has the red lights activated and they're open.
So this one they were half past the door. I'm assuming it's the first door. But yeah, you've got to, for the purpose.
The door in the middle, the door in the back, the door in the front.
Even in the
front. Did you pass any door?
Well, if you were half past the first door, the front door, you're still past it. You're still in the area where pedestrians would be expected. You'd be expected to wait. Yes. But it's understandable. It's somewhat confusing. Boom, boom. Okay. Oh, where would you like me to send info? So apparently there's a big event coming up called the Hot Wheels event.
Oh.
And it's going to be at a track. So Age of the Awesome was suggesting we might want to go there. So he's going to. If you put it to Discord, it's good. If you put it on the submission form on trafficop.ca, all of those things are good.
Located in Cayuga.
Yeah.
Well, road trip.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's
road trip.
Go do an event, and
I like it.
Can we drive on the track?
Well, that's a whole different situation. It won't be your birthday again. So
that's true.
So somebody on their birthday went on the track. Let's see here. Discussion. Leo the Dreamer, are taxis exempted of child seat restrictions for travel? Taxis and buses. You don't have to have a child safety restraint when taking children in those. They're the only things that are exempted. Technically, I guess police cars too. But the deal is that it doesn't make it any safer.
Ambulances?
Ambulances, yeah.
Not fire trucks, actually. No, not fire trucks.
Where would they ever have a cause to?
Not Ubers or Lyfts or any other sort. It has to be a licensed taxi actually getting paid to transport.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it safer. It just means that there's opportunities if you need to. If you were in an emergency situation or if you were late at night out, they have to give you some way of getting out of harm's way. You don't want to be walking the streets. You can't be expected to walk 500 miles to get home. Buses and taxis make sense. Is it always guilty to hit a car from behind? Especially if you're planning it. But if you are rear-ended, it is almost always the vehicle that rear-ended you that's at fault. Are there situations that it's not the person behind who's at fault?
Not very often.
But it could happen.
But it could happen.
Yeah. Bicycle scene.
You're not really supposed to hit anything.
No, hitting bad.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Please clarify pedal assist and 32-kilometer-an-hour limit. One can self-propel at greater than 32 kilometers as long as the motor doesn't provide power past 32. Yes. So the deal is that the motor on its own, on a flat surface, level, cannot take the vehicle outside of or above the 32 kilometers. If you were capable of pedaling it, or if you had a pedal assist where you're truly pedaling, people can pedal a pedal bike faster than 32 kilometers,
Oh, yeah.
I'm told. So if that is the case and the motor is on or off, or it's irrelevant, it's you pedaling. If it's a throttle only situation, that is where we have a problem. So hopefully bicycle shop,
Actually, we don't have a
bicycle
problem.
scene.
They will have a problem.
I think so, someone asked, so if I go, and speed limits don't apply to bicycles that can go faster. If it's something that goes faster than 32 as a under power alone, well, that's not a bicycle anymore.
Right.
So but
It's a motor vehicle, and yeah,
it
speed
reverts
does.
to its actual definition. But it was funny. Someone said, well, I can do more than 32 on my own. I said, you deserve a medal, not a ticket. I'm not doing 32 on my own. What is this? Hours for service. Oh, he's answering a question. Can you legally drive on a private parking lot without a seatbelt on?
See, yes, you can.
Yes. The deal is that the charge for driving without a seatbelt doesn't apply on private property. We can't lay it. Doesn't mean it's safe, but that particular one is one where you wouldn't get a ticket.
And that thing on the dash is always flashing and dinging and telling you. And
The ding ding drives me crazy. I cannot. I know some
ding-ding?
people. The ding ding. I will talk to certain people, possibly my father, who whenever I call him, I hear ding ding ding, and I'm like, and he tells me he's just started just putting it on now. I cannot stand that sound. It makes my skin crawl. Did you ask a commercial insurance Uber drivers? Do you ask a commercial what? When I stop an Uber driver, do I ask for a commercial insurance?
no. So from what I understand you're asking, the vehicle has to be insured for liability. That is a minimum requirement in Ontario. Uber may have more requirements, and your company and yourself, you may want to have commercial insurance if it is mandated that you have it, and you may want it just to cover yourself. It's not up to us to understand what coverage you have, other than to know that there is a policy of liability up to the minimum standard in effect for the vehicle at the time, no matter what you're doing. But we can also make a phone call if we need to, and we can
Check on the status of policies and so on.
and ask your employer if, hey, provide me a
Did
copy.
you know about the Uber license?
I didn't.
So
Not until a couple of days ago.
So I don't remember where this came up, but I was aware that there was such a thing as an Uber license, and it comes with when you register on the app. You actually become an Uber driver. You're qualified. In the app, there's an Uber license. But somebody last week or the week before asked about using their buddies. So we knew it was wrong, but I didn't know there was a $900 fine for using your buddies. I thought that was amazing. That's a ticket I've never written. I need to get back on the road just so I can write that. So if you borrow your buddy's car and pretend to be them so you can do Uber, $900 fine. That's amazing. Yes, I'm easily impressed, apparently. How about an ATV on the road or beside the road? How fast can I drive?
So there are certain roads that you're able to operate an ATV on. Now, an ATV has to be a four-wheeled, straddling it, not a side-by-side. On roads that have a speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour or more, the limit you can operate your ATV is at 50 kilometers an hour. At roads that have a speed limit less than 80 kilometers an hour, the speed is 20 kilometers an hour. And that allows for a speed differential so that the vehicles traveling on the roadway can actually pass you. Now, you have to stay as far to the right as safely possible. If there's a shoulder, you have to be on the shoulder. If there's not, and there are situations where, say, there's guardrails or something like that, and the road narrows, that you have to move on to the traveled portion of the roadway, you have to do that in safety. But the speed differential allows cars to go around you and get past. So if you're traveling along at 80 and the ATV is doing 75 and coming on the shoulder and off the shoulder, that's a recipe for disaster. So,
Here's a question about, is it legal to ride an e-bike without a helmet as a minor? Well, bicycles require anyone under the age of 18 to ride with a helmet. You don't have the choice to make bad decisions until you're 18 on a pedal bike. But an e-bike requires you to wear a helmet always. Anyone you see with an e-bike that's on the road is breaking the law, and I see it all day.
Without a helmet.
Without a helmet. And you have to be 16 to ride an e-bike. So you have to be 16. You must wear a helmet. Now, I wonder if the exemption for motorcycle helmets would apply. I imagine they would for members of the Sikh faith who are practicing. That they might have an exemption for. I imagine they would. If you can ride a motorcycle, if you wear a turban without a helmet, then you should be able to do the same thing with an e-bike, I imagine. Okay, that concludes all of the questions that were on the main channel, but I did just notice that we missed Raging Cajun's question about using Waze to report changing routes, reporting traffic conditions. The app prompts you to interact with it while you're driving. And the deal is they want to know what my thoughts are. Well, you can't engage with it if it's your phone. You could technically engage with it if it was using CarPlay or Android Auto. But do I have a problem with people sharing information? The whole concept of Waze is kind of cool. It's sharing your location and travel speed with the other users to determine traffic flow and make suggestions. If you say there's a collision, hopefully that means that you're going slow enough that you're not making a big colossal change. Like if you're doing the speed limit, I don't think you need to be reporting that you saw a tire at the side of the road or a car stopped. But if it's causing impact to people's ability to drive and you're driving slow enough and it's safe enough using your dashboard, not your phone, I think it's great that you can share that information.
I use Waze in the police car when I'm out there. And I had a funny situation where I was involved in an investigation and my Waze app went bing, police, bing, police. And as I was driving away from there, every intersection I went to, it went bing, police are there, police are there. All these people around me saw me.
And reported it.
And were reporting me to the app.
When I was doing traffic enforcement, I was doing radar or speed actually. I thought it was a badge of honor when I was being notified that police were present. So I thought I got a real kick out of that. There's one last question is, do Toronto Marine Unit police officers have to carry a passport since our lake is a border with the United States? I don't have an answer for that. I don't think they would.
I think if they were to step foot on the opposite shore.
That if they were actually entering.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know, but you know who would know?
The Marine Unit?
And Sergeant Kulik used to be at the Marine Unit.
Yeah, maybe we could ask her.
That's a question for tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk about it on Friday. At very least, I should have an answer for you by then. All right. Wait.
You said no more.
I said no more, but then I saw something that looked interesting. Are the police above the law? It's just because it's how come they get to go past the limit when their lights are off? Well, Ezra Dave, the reason is that we require the ability to do certain things to do our job effectively in the lawful execution of our duties. So if that means exceeding the speed limit marginally or sometimes majorly in order to do something that is appropriate and safe or as safe as can be. So if we
in the
try
course
to
of our duties.
lawful execution, that's the big thing. So it's not to get pizza. It's not because I got to go pee. It's because I need to be able to go faster than the car in front of me, which is probably already breaking the law itself, to be able to see if they're using their cell phone, to be able to identify the driver before I stop them. I don't need to identify I don't have to identify myself and put the lights on. I would never be able to properly enforce laws if I had to use it. But there's also for safety. If I need to get somewhere and I don't want to turn my lights on because everyone starts doing the darndest things around me, it's unsafe. People
absolutely become terrible drivers as soon as they have a police car behind them with lights flashing or siren going. People do this silliest, stupidest things.
And we're not above the law.
And sometimes it's faster
yes.
to get somewhere to help somebody by not putting them on. So we have two exemptions on the Highway Traffic Act. One of them is speeding. The other one is red light. But we have a whole bunch of things we have to do before we can go through a red light.
Yes. And there's also exemptions for bylaw. Like we can park where we have to park. We can do certain things. We can do U-turns if we need to. There's other things in the performance of our duties that we can do. Yeah. But in terms of the Highway Traffic Act, it's just those two things. Kayla Draconis has caught me. I forgot to mention the Harley. So let's do that really quickly. Cause it's only a few days, like it's really counting down. It's only 12 days, 21 hours, 38 minutes, and 50 seconds. And that is if you want to buy a ticket and have an opportunity to not only support the magical people at Special Olympics Ontario, but also to tremendously increase the odds of you winning. See, if you don't buy a ticket, you cannot win. If you buy a ticket, you have an opportunity. And if you buy one ticket for $20, you have one opportunity, but you have options. You can buy 3 for $50 or 8 for $100, which is what I did because it was the best deal.
So I want people out there to prove me wrong. I think I have the winning ticket. Prove me wrong. Buy a ticket. Prove me wrong.
Yes. Or don't, and let me have the win. I want the winning ticket. Let's see here. What is this? They're using e-bike and I don't know what the context of this is. What is this? Also, side note, people say they're using a bike on Uber so they don't have to show registration or insurance. Oh, you're saying that people are saying they're using a bicycle but then driving? Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. I've not heard of that, but that makes sense that people might lie because people do that sort of thing. Do speed limits apply to bicycles that are not powered by motors at all? No, they don't. There is no speed limit for a bicycle.
Fast as safe. Fast as you want as long as it's safe.
Well, because careless driving does apply.
Absolutely.
Careless driving applies to bicycles, even though not everybody cares. Okay, with
That's
that,
it.
I say thank you very much. We will be back tomorrow for Friday. I
won't be.
You will not be?
I will not be.
Oh, lucky you. I need to start taking some days off.
No, I'm not taking days off. I have other work to do.
Oh, well, that's different.
Yes.
I should take a day off then.
Yeah, I will be out in the pounds tomorrow.
Oh, okay, very good. Well, that's less fun. I thought you were taking a day off to
Nope.
play on the motorcycle.
Nope, wish I did.
If you are watching, then you will get the announced notice that we are back tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to turn off the camera.
You
Oh,
know
sorry.
that tomorrow's day 12 for you and I of
we,
work.
we have not stopped working.
Day 12.
Day 12 days in a row.
Yeah.
I don't even notice what day it is. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I forgot. That is cool. Hey, if you didn't already know, we're hiring. We didn't talk about it in detail, but we are hiring, and you can go to trafficcop.ca, which has links to all the stuff, including the employment page, which is also available at tps.ca/careers. With that, we will say that stay safe, don't have a good day, have a great day, and that is a direct quote from Akela Draconis. I leave you with the traffic song. It's the song we play at the end of every show because it's awesome. That's it. Have a good day.
See ya.
Ciao.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Okay, that's it. It's a wrap. I know we're still here when we say we're not, but it's a wrap. So
Go home.
go-
It's over.
He says, "Go home. It's over."
It's over.
All right, I'm actually saying goodbye.
All right.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to press end now.
Done.
It's done.
They're still listening to you.
There's some. I know they're still listening. They're right there. It's the most of the time.